Hi, and welcome to another Caroline Healy Art how-to video. This one is about how to sketch clouds using watercolour and pens. My equipment is here. It's watercolours, as you can see. 3 paintbrushes, one for filling in big spaces, big one, some water, and 2 pens. Here are some clouds that I have previously sketched. There, and find another one, some there, and some there. But I'm going to show you how to paint these clouds, and we'll probably put a bit more detail into them than I have done in my sketch. Let's get started. The first thing I do is look at the picture that I'm drawing, whether it's outdoors or from a photo, and I often work from photos. And I'm going to get the line of the vegetation and the horizon in first. And then I'm going to look at the clouds. The clouds are a sort of purple colour with white, and the background colour of the sky is darker at the top and lighter towards the horizon. I'm going to get the basic shapes of the clouds in first. Got my water. I'm going to use the smaller of my brushes, and I'm going to mix my colours in the paints. So I'm going with a purpley colour, a bit of grey, and I'm going to start light to get my colours in so that I can paint over them. And that's a rule with watercolours. You generally start light and then put in the darker parts. And this isn't going to be exactly the same as the photo. Clouds change all the time, and what you're aiming for when you're sketching is to get an impression of what you're looking at. It doesn't have to be the same, but it just has to evoke the feeling of the view. I've made a start. I'm going to get a thicker brush and do a bit of the negative space. Negative space is the space between the objects you're drawing. Painting wet watercolour onto wet watercolour is called painting wet on wet. If you go too dark, and you think, oh, that's actually more than I would like, while it's still wet, you can get a piece of tissue, kitchen tissue, paper towel, and just blot it like that, and then it's back to being lighter again. Once it's dried, you can keep layering and layering depending on the quality of your paper. This paper is fairly thick. At a guess, I'd probably say about 190, 180 GSM, which is grams per square meter, but it's not great quality. It does degrade. So you do want your sketchbook to be better quality than mine, perhaps. You can see it's already rippling, and that's not ideal. Okay, so I just went away and blasted it with a hairdryer because who has time to wait for paint to dry? It is boring. And so in that time, before I did a bit of the vegetation, just filled it in a bit, did the stripes on the sea, and had a look at whether the paint was dry with the pen, which it wasn't. You can see it's bled there. Nothing is a disaster. Nothing matters that much. The painting doesn't matter that much. And, you know, frankly, the painting is for you. Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to give it away, but if it's in your sketchbook, it's probably for you. So now I'm putting the pen on. And this is my favourite part. I mean, I love colour, but the pen is where I feel like you really see the magic happen. So I do a line underneath the cloud, and I make it gentle, like I'm not prescriptive with where it goes. It's just sort of a squiggle. And then I put in the bases of the cloud, because usually, depends on the type of cloud. This is sort of a cirrus that I'm drawing here, it's sort of a cirrus-y sort of cloud, which is means it's high up in the air and it doesn't really have a heavy base. It's not a rain cloud. But having said that, the bases of the clouds just makes them look good, I think. For the top, I only do a few light touches of the pen. I leave spaces just to, so it's not too heavy-handed. These bits at the top here, I'll just put impressions of, some squiggles. And then this one here, I always talk about lights and darks and how important it is to make sure that your lights are lights and the darks are darks next to them. But sometimes the tones are actually quite a similar value, and the pen helps to separate them. And the pen also helps you to not correct, but if you think, oh, that's a bit wrong, like for example here, my horizon line for the sea sort of did a big jump. I am just going to make that into a bit of land there and continue it into here. And so the pen helps you just correct or change things that you weren't 100% happy with. And here I'm just putting in some dots and marks to follow some of the dots and marks in the photo. Sometimes it is a good idea to follow a bit more exactly. It just gives it a bit more of it gives it a different look. Almost a bit more graphic actually. It's a bit more of a graphic look, like almost like cartoony rather than arty, draw. I don't really know how to describe it, but hopefully you'll understand what I mean. When you've got a bit that hits the horizon line or this line of vegetation, make sure that you don't leave a gap when you get to the vegetation, because if the cloud continues behind it, it needs to actually touch it. Then if you've finished doing your clouds and you think, oh, maybe that's a bit too purple and I want to get some more blue in there or into the clouds or more a different colour, then you can just put it in afterwards, just a few dashes to change things up a bit. And then or maybe you think, oh, you want to make it more sunsetty, so you just want a tiny hint of a sort of orangey colour. Get back your blotting thing, which I've been using as a colour tester as well as a blotter. Just put some hints of orangey yellow in there and makes it a bit warmer. Right, now I'll just finish off doing the vegetation. So for this, I want that to be really dark because I really like the contrast. You can use your pen to put in lots of swirls. Another way is to get some ink. So an ink like this, you can mix it on maybe the lid of your pot, your water pot. If you leave it on a palette, it does tend to stick unless you wash it straight away. And so you just need to remember that. You wash it straight away. And you can mix this with the paints. The same deal with the paints. Once you've mixed it in, try it out somewhere. You need to make sure that you give that a bit of a clean. Make sure you clean your paint palette afterwards because it'll be a bit, it'll stay there. One little trick someone told me, it was an artist called Trevor Holder. He said if you want to make a painting really good, you've got to put spots of red in it. I quite like that. I quite like putting little spots of red into a painting. So maybe we'll put a little person or two down here. A bit more pen and vegetation. Hope that's helpful. Have fun.